The Counter-Strike franchise boasts a legacy like no other. While the relentless pursuit of greatness drives today's stars and rising talents, it's worth pausing to reflect on the legends who've shaped the game. Across its storied history, a handful of names have transcended time, leaving clips, victories, and legacies in their wake. Few players in the history of Counter-Strike have had as profound an impact on the AWP role as kennyS Shrub. Renowned for his lightning-quick reflexes, audacious flicks, and explosive gameplay, kennyS redefined what it meant to wield the AWP in Counter-Strike. Over the course of his career, he transitioned from a rising prodigy in Counter-Strike Source to a global star in CS:GO. This is the story of kennyS. kennyS Shrub was born on May 19, 1995 in France. His journey into the world of Counter-Strike began very early in his life, when he discovered CS Source thanks to watching his older brothers play.
On a 10 ans de différence avec Kenny et déjà quand il avait 8 ans, il était déjà à notre niveau.
Even as a youngster, his proficiency with the AWP soon drew attention. CSS offered plenty of scope for fast-paced, aggressive sniping, and kennyS's innate ability to hit near-impossible shots and make aggressive, fast plays set him apart from his contemporaries. It wasn't long before the new kid on the block was popping up on the radar of the French pro scene. His initial forays in the professional world came with the French squad VeryGames. With a lineup featuring some of France's most promising players, VG was a proving ground for up-and-coming talent during the later years of Counter-Strike Source. Whilst his initial tryouts with VG were a touch underwhelming, ending with a poor performance at PXL LAN, it wasn't long before Kenny would be picked up by VeryGames. After a short stint on Team Extensive, kennyS would be signed to VG following the departure of Michael MK Zaidi. It quickly became clear that kennyS's mechanical skill was exceptional. Opponents began to realize that they were witnessing the emergence of a truly special talent, but it would have been a stretch for them to comprehend just how influential Kenny would eventually become. The release of CS:GO in 2012 was a defining moment for the Counter-Strike scene. While many players found the switch from Source or 1.6 to CS:GO challenging, kennyS adapted rapidly, perhaps even surprising himself. In fact, at the very beginning of CS:GO's lifespan, kennyS himself admitted he struggled.
Moi j'étais ultra frustré parce que je venais d'arriver sur Source en tant que pro. Et voilà, 5 mois après, il y a un nouveau jeu et Source, on oublie quoi. Donc moi j'étais vraiment frustré. Et le jeu, sur la bêta, même mon manager Jérôme était meilleur que moi.
However, his raw aim and razor-sharp reflexes translated seamlessly into the new title. As he grew more comfortable in the CS:GO environment, it became increasingly clear that he was destined to become one of the scene's brightest stars. While Kenny eventually found his mechanical footing in the new game, VeryGames struggled to replicate their old dominance. The results simply weren't there, and it was almost entirely because of one team: Ninjas in Pajamas. VeryGames managed to reach the grand finals at DreamHack Valencia, ESWC, DreamHack Winter, and the AMD Sapphire Invitational. But at every single event, the Swedish roster sent them packing. For a team used to winning absolutely everything in Source, constantly settling for second place was unacceptable. The breaking point hit at the ESEA Season 13 LAN Finals. A disappointing third-place finish after a loss to Quantic Gaming meant that it wouldn't be VeryGames facing NIP in the grand finals.
Donc j'ai eu un appel de Jérôme. Il m'a dit ouais, est-ce qu'on peut se voir, est-ce que tu peux me rejoindre sur TeamSpeak, faut qu'on parle. Et j'ai dit ouais, bien sûr. Et bon, j'ai dit bien sûr, mais je savais ce qui allait m'arriver. Donc là, il m'annonce mon kick.
Following his exit from VeryGames, Kenny reunited with former teammates on Team LDLC. The stint was brief, but he finally achieved what his old roster couldn't, beating Ninjas in Pajamas.
Ce match face à l'équipe Ninjas in Pajamas a cherché cette victoire. Les joueurs de l'équipe française qui sont à 2 doigts et c'est le kick de APX. Maintenant GetRight avec 23 points de vie et c'est la victoire de l'équipe Ninjas, de l'équipe française, sur le score de 25-23 qui va chercher la victoire.
Despite the huge win, the rest of 2013 and early 2014 proved to be an unstable stretch. Kenny bounced through several quick rosters, playing under banners like We Got Game, Recursive Esports, and Clan Mystic. kenny's standout performances continued to turn heads after he joined Titan in 2014. Although the team itself went through highs and lows, kenny's sniping served as the squad's linchpin. His playstyle was fearless. He'd take duels most players would shy away from, and his success rate was nothing short of staggering. When Titan lacked the firepower to close out rounds, it was often kenny's who stepped up.
Chunk of damage done. In comes kenny's. Oh my god, kenny's with 3 insane kills!
But despite Kenny's elite performances, the team around him was failing. Following a devastating group stage exit at the ESL1 Cologne 2014 Major, the organization grew desperate. They completely rebuilt the squad, bringing in the tactical mind of Existence alongside Apex, Maniac, and KQLY. The new roster was immediately a massive threat, but they had to endure a frustrating streak of second-place finishes before finally breaking through. They triumphed at the DreamHack Invitational too, and looked absolutely lethal heading into the Winter Major. But as 2014 drew to a close, absolute disaster struck. On November 20th, the Counter-Strike world was rocked. KQLY was hit with a VAC ban. The fallout was devastating.
KQLY VAC banned? KQLY VAC banned? No. Seriously? No.
Just like that, Titan's DreamHack winter run was over before it even started. The disqualification meant Kenny had to wait for his next shot at a major. Scrambling to rebuild, Titan pulled RPK out of retirement in late December to fill the void. As 2015 began, the new roster successfully qualified for ESL1 Katowice. But the nightmare repeated itself. They suffered another early exit, eliminated in the group stage by Penta. Then, on March 31st, Kenny faced his biggest threat yet. Valve released a game-changing patch that lowered the AWP's scoped movement speed. The community knew exactly what it meant, a direct response to his dominance. His high-paced, relentless sniping had reshaped the meta, and now his signature style was under attack.
It's not as fluid as it was, it's not as quick, the velocity's not there. And this immediately, for the pro scene, is a massive nerf. Because you have to realize, on the pro scene, where these players are incredible and they're getting the most out of every weapon, when you nerf one thing a little bit, it buffs other things naturally, just in pure context, in a relative sense.
The impact was immediate. As Team Titan's results continued to decline, Kenny Shrub openly admitted he was losing confidence. But even while struggling, he still produced moments of absolute magic.
Pretty much on the A site, PNX not going to give it up without a fight, and it's going to come down to kennyS with the AWP. 1v3, we can see where he's looking now, just gets the shot barely on MSL, finds the second one, kennyS point blank with the no-scope!
But Team Titan's ongoing slump brought unavoidable consequences. In need of a reset, Team Envy reached an agreement to acquire kennyS and Dan Apex Mattisclair in a roster trade. The move to Envy was exactly what he needed. The team instantly found success, winning IEM Gamescom and the Gfinity Champion of Champions. Just weeks later, they arrived at ESL1 Cologne 2015. They topped their group, but they wanted more than just playoffs. In the quarterfinals, they clashed with Navi, sending them packing before completely casting aside TSM in the semifinals.
This is going to be very difficult. He doesn't have any time to work with. The bomb plant's going to take 5 seconds alone. He's going to go for it behind the fountain. Kerrigan just going to charge him down. He's going to miss quite a few pistol shots. kennyS, he picks up the kill! Kerrigan should not have, but then he gets the second!
Happy. That should have definitely been a kill. MBK up here, he drops Cajun. Oh no, not like this. It's a 2v5. Envy, they're punishing TSM. Dupree goes down. And it all comes down to Sipnix here. 1v4. He's got 15 seconds.
A surging Fnatic awaited them in the grand final. kennyS was just one best of 3 away from finally lifting his first major trophy, but Fnatic's Crims had other plans.
Would they slow down? There's the flash. That's going to catch Crims out. They're going to push on through. MBK gets one, but Crims with a spray down. He gets himself the...
A round that should have been an easy Envy win completely collapsed. The momentum violently swung in Fnatic's favor, and the victory slipped away. But they didn't let the heartbreak ruin them. A few weeks later, they returned with a vengeance at DreamHack Open London, taking first place after dismantling TSM in the finals. Armed with renewed confidence, the team locked their sights on the next major, DreamHack Cluj-Napoca. EnVyUs came out swinging. After topping their group, they drew the ultimate test in the quarterfinals, a rematch against Fnatic. But this time, EnVyUs exacted their revenge, absolutely destroying Fnatic to advance.
around the corner, drops one, and Crims is gonna go down. Envy are on to the semi-finals here, defeating Fnatic 6.
Next came an absolute nail-biter against G2 in the semi-finals that nearly dashed their championship hopes entirely. EnVyUs dropped the first map and were pushed to the absolute limit. Refusing to die, they survived a massive overtime thriller on map 2, eventually closing out the series on cash. In the grand final, they faced a familiar adversary, Na'Vi. EnVyUs struck first, stealing Na'Vi's own map pick of Train in a tense, hard-fought battle. Then, they moved to Cobblestone for map 2, and it was an absolute slaughter. There was simply nothing Na'Vi could do.
Guardian taking down Happy, gonna go for the next shot, that's the bomb down, and now it's a 1 versus 1, Alt versus Orb, Kenny versus Guardian, and this could be a huge round for either player, and Kenny, he steals it away,
It's not looking good.
Oh, and a second headshot there. Flamey gonna be gone. Hiroshima, and there it is. Consecutive down. Envy winning the last major of 2000.
kennyS finally had his crown. His performance didn't just win the team the trophy, it cemented his individual legacy. For his unbelievable run, he was crowned the MVP of the major. He closed out the year ranked number 6 on the HLTV Top 20. And to cap off the greatest year of his life, he was officially named the 2015 Esports Player of the Year. Following his major peak, kennyS spent 2 more years battling to keep EnVyUs on top, collecting a few final trophies along the way. But by 2017, the French scene was ready for a shakeup. He joined G2 Esports to form a legendary super team. His time with G2 was marked by flashes of that same undeniable brilliance.
Angry Ninja's in his face very soon.
Oh, that is fast!
Helping the squad lift massive trophies at DreamHack Open Tours, ESL Pro League Season 5 Finals, and DreamHack Masters Malmo 2017. On his best days, he still made the AWP dance to his tune, silencing any critic who dared to question his form.
Detached from the action. Kenny, first step to bat, he finds a shot, but he's being pressured up close. He needs Shucks to support him. He's watching for a flank, but what? Oh my god, Kenny!
Even on the more difficult days, when the roster struggled to find consistency, his spirit remained completely unbroken. He had become more than just a competitor. An entire new generation of snipers were picking up the big green, purely because they were inspired by his legacy. But after 4 grueling years of giving everything to the G2 banner, the game continued to evolve, and he was eventually moved to the bench. However, he refused to go quietly. In late 2022, he signed with Team Falcons, reuniting with familiar faces from his past. They had one goal: to qualify for the 2023 Blast TV Paris Major, the last CSGO major. It was his chance to compete on the biggest stage one last time, directly in front of his home country. They fell just shy of qualifying after a devastating loss to Big in the last chance qualifier. Yet the French fans still gave him the ultimate send-off. On May 20th, 2023, kennyS stepped onto the stage at the Accor Arena in Paris. To the deafening cheers of his home crowd, the legendary marksman officially announced his retirement from competitive Counter-Strike.
Because I don't even know if I deserve that, but here you are, being the people you are with me, and so thank you very much for that. To make it short, yeah, I'm retiring from competition. I loved every single moment.
kennyS's legacy transcends mere statistics. While there have been other formidable snipers in Counter-Strike, few have captured the imagination of the community quite like he did. His highlight reels are legendary, filled with the kind of impossible-seeming shots that can turn the course of a match in a fraction of a second. Moreover, his willingness to adapt throughout the years, amid meta shifts, roster changes, and the inevitable scrutiny of being one of the game's foremost superstars, speaks to his significant resilience. The magic stick may be retired, and the arenas may have quieted down, but the name kennyS will echo through the history of Counter-Strike forever.